Hello, 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 hello. I'm going to get started this evening while we're waiting for our guest, Tamara Siemon, to join us. Want to take care of some of the important stuff right here off the beginning of the program. Couple noteworthy events. First of all, I am going to be partnering with a number of what I call experts in various fields. We have in the strength community Eric Cressy Performance, and Fairchild Performance. In the mental performance space, we'll have Tamara Siemon. We're also going to have from a what I call mobility and fluid athletic development of younger athletes, Mobile Chick. She's all over X/Twitter. Going to be working with Trent Mangiero with regard to infield play. Trey Hanneman is going to be working with us as far as hitting. The Lions Den, Tyler Beede, Matt Tabor will be our pitching guys. Rick Stobauer is going to be our catching coach. And so we're going to create content specifically for our members. And also we'll have our coaches, college coaches, strength coaches from colleges. And while there will be, videos that will be available on the free page, the vast majority of the newer content will be on the member page. I want to bring that up to parents and student athletes. Again, going to make a complete and free library, but also going to give access from a membership perspective so that we're really educating, informing parents for athletes of all ages. Tonight, when Tamara joins me, we're going to talk about that 8 to 13-year-old age group, which is kind of the forgotten, lost group amongst the travel transfer portal and everything else that's going on within baseball. So I want to encourage you, definitely, if at worst, subscribe. That is free. Hit the notification bell. Engage with these videos. If you like what Tamara says tonight, leave a comment. If you like anything that I discuss, leave a comment. Engage with the video. Share the videos. Really trying to get the algorithm to push out the content, not only during this summer, but also moving forward into the fall when I foresee tough times ahead with regard to not only college, but school athletics and things like that. Also want to encourage you, and you're gonna hear me say it a couple times. The Baseball Blue Book. Okay, it's an app. Now I get people that send me videos all week long, and all you have to do is upload your video. First of all, create a profile on Blue Book. I cannot tell you how many coaches have reached out to me and said, "Hey, I saw you promote somebody's video. He looked pretty good. What do you know about that guy? What do you know about his high school situation?" So definitely download the Blue Book app. It's 100% free. Create a profile, free profile, and then let me, evaluate your student athlete, endorse your student athlete, and you'll be able to join along some of the groups that I participate in and help families along the recruiting pathway. So tonight is a live presentation, so we're going to have live Q&As. Tamara will be joining us in 1 second once I pull her up and put my spectacles on. Leon, how are you? Thank you, Leon. I greatly appreciate it. Parents, one of the things that I want you to know is things are going to get worse before they get better. A couple of topics that are going to lead us into Tamara tonight. One, the amount of parents that are asking me about younger athletes in college and exposure and using phrases that are no longer applicable. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to be a doomer and gloomer. I'm just trying to be realistic and, most importantly, honest. Children 8 to 15 or 16 grow to love the game, play the game for passion, hustle, compete, develop skill. Once they hit 13 or 14, let's get into the speed, the strength, but we don't need to think about showcases, from an exposure perspective. We don't need to think about college camps from a recruiting perspective. It's not part of the process anymore. There are 6,400 student athletes in the portal at the NCAA level. More enter every single day. You see them on X or Twitter. You see high school boys decommitting. It is a very volatile, challenging, difficult space. We do not need to bring that heaviness to the younger athletes because there's nothing for them to think about or worry about. And so we're going to get into that tonight with our first guest. Let me bring her up here. Hello, Tamara.
Hello, Coach. How are you?
I'm good. Is that an Alabama hat or a Braves hat? I'm going to go with
Oh my
Braves.
gosh, it's
What do we
Braves.
got? Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Yes.
So for those of you that have always asking me to refer, and I refer a lot of parents, and we're going to talk about that tonight. Tamara Siemon. Okay, here's what you need to know. One, parent, husband, wife, former Division I athletes within the ACC, Duke, Wake Forest, Tobacco Road. So they get it as a parent, but they're living it as, former student athletes now living it as parents. So, Tamara, first and foremost, welcome, and thank you so much for taking some time today. I know it's your busy time of year with the kids.
Always a pleasure. Happy to be here. Thank you.
One of the things that is really something that's catching me off guard, and you sent me today, I just want from an edification perspective today, not from a braggart perspective, but my day began at 6:35. And as you can tell, I haven't shaved. I didn't get a chance to. I have been nonstop for almost 13 hours. College coaches, families, parents, people at camps that didn't turn out the way they thought. So, Tamara, I know when I sent you a text and I was like, man, oh man, I'm beside myself with conversations. Then you sent me this perfect response back. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. And to lead us in to Tamara, a lot of parents right now, Little League, travel ball, younger ages, we're really putting way too much expectation on results, perfection, performance, instead of being a support mechanism, for our young student athletes who are getting lost in the sea of portal, college exposure, et cetera. We're not really focused enough on the younger athletes. So that I'm going to kind of let Tamara, you kind of take this lead. I know you're working with a lot of families of younger athletes now, which is intriguing as heck to me. But talk a little bit about some of the topics and discussion points that you're having with parents and young athletes as it relates to youth athletics.
Yeah. So I think I talk about this every time I join you,
but it's a great topic. It's something we have to revisit.
Yeah. I'm talking to every student athlete about how to handle mistakes. We're trying to normalize failure. We're talking about how we can recover from it and trying to help them understand it is going to happen. So it's truly about how you can process it and recover, right? And I'm talking to an 8-year-old about that. And then this past weekend, I'm at a showcase with my daughter for high-level softball. And a coach came up to her afterwards. Gabby's a pitcher. She's in the circle. She had a couple balls. She got, somebody hit a dinger off of her, but she responded and she finished it out. And the coach said to her, I stuck around because I wanted to see how you responded. And I really liked what I saw.
Yeah. And I think so that in a nutshell is what every college coach tells us almost on a weekly basis. I know you're going to look great when you succeed, but I got to see how when the challenges begin to creep in, the error behind you, the home run to right field, wind aided or whatever. I want to see how you compete and how you respond, body language, et cetera. So I want to use a word, resiliency. I've used that in the past with, when we've had discussions on this topic, but more and more college and even high school coaches now are asking families about resiliency, tell me a situation where you overcame adversity and you were very resilient and determined to stay the course and compete. Can you just talk about, we use the word failure. We just didn't execute. Doesn't mean we failed, just means we didn't execute the task at hand. But that doesn't mean we won't when asked or called upon again in the future. Can you talk about being able to process that as a young athlete, flushing and moving to the next opportunity?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I will say, in some ways it's harder when you're younger because emotionally, and I'm not a doctor, I'm trying to stay in my lane, but as a parent, I can see it with my own kids, right? At a younger age, under, I would say 12, it's much more difficult to process failure from what I've seen, especially if you're really good and you're just used to being kind of a top talent. Then all of a sudden you get to those age groups where other people are talented too, and talent alone doesn't cut it. And it's like, what do you do with this? As parents, and I'm guilty of this, we always want to protect. We want to smooth the road. We want to kind of save them because it's hard to see them struggle. But it's those moments that ultimately make them who they are, right? Because when they're 25, I don't want to be protecting and saving them from the struggle. So that's what I remind myself about is, again, like I feel like a lot of the times when we talk, it's about being intentional about what you're trying to accomplish. As simple as, this is my 9-year-old. What we're trying to accomplish is having fun today. So I'm going to act accordingly, and I'm going to help him or her understand you're not a failure. Nobody's a perfect player, right? This is normal. Let's try to get the next one. So I think level setting, I think being clear as the parent and the leader of the family on what the ultimate goal is here.
Well, I want to let parents know one of the biggest aspects of youth sports today, we're so consumed as parents or within the youth athletic industry, trainers, lessons, instructors, and we start talking as we get older about strength and speed and skill and all these things to develop an athlete. One of the biggest components to, with regard to the Blue Book is finding and having access to people like Tamara, because mental performance now is a staple for young athletes because of access to social media, access to information. Everything is in the palm of their hand, literally and figuratively, or on a laptop or a desktop. So having access to someone like Tamara and really understanding the value of helping your young athletes be able to sort this type of growth, mental growth, is a critical part. So want to make sure parents, you're taking the time, going through the Blue Book, looking for Tamara or those types of coaches. So create that profile, download the Blue Book app, create that profile, and then go find those resources. Can be equipment, it can be instructors, or it can be a performance coach such as Tamara. And so, Tamara, I really want to ask you, because I find more and more parents asking for you, like, hey, my athlete is struggling and they seem to be down longer, meaning their mood is down, their energies are down. Do you find that we as adults are putting too much emphasis on either results, i.e. wins, or performance, instead of competing and learning not only how to compete, but how to learn the sport, the simple things like that? Do you think we're kind of reversing what the priorities really should be?
I think so. And I think it's a result of the world that we live in and the highlight reel. And I mean, you could have 3 great barrels that go right to the glove. And so on paper, you're 0 for 3 and you don't feel like you can put it out
Right.
there. Right. And it's just, we're absolutely, and we're all guilty of it, of promoting and thinking about what's sexy and what sells and stats, right? And kind of climbing that ladder of like, what showcase do I have to pay $500 for so that I can get the t-shirt and then the invitation, and then I can let everybody know that my kid was invited. And like, that's why I'm leaning heavily on you. I know you didn't ask me to say this, but I have a rising sophomore baseball player, and once upon a time, I would start looking at college camps for him, right? And I'm biased, he's a darn good pitcher. But like I hear you say, don't even waste your time. And I'm like, okay, it's probably going to change 3 more times before he's a senior, but let's just
Well, I'm
focus
gonna
on
touch
that.
on that because again, you have athletes. You have a son and a daughter, a softball and a baseball player, and you're as parents, you know the world that lies ahead, whereas the vast majority of parents do not. And so, one of the I think the biggest gaps from perception to reality. And so when I try to talk to parents and I say, there once was a world between, let's call it 98 to 2018 ish, right before COVID, where, yes, coaches were goo goo gaga over the 8th, 9th, and 10th graders, and they had to get in first because if I don't, they're gonna. And those days, I cannot emphasize this enough. After a 13-hour day of talking Division 3, Division 2, Division 1, Elite Division 1, NAIA, JUCOs are now getting inundated with freshmen from D1 schools. So I try to tell parents the days of you as a 9th or 10th or even 11th grade junior worrying about college, they're done. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Don't look for recruiting. Anybody that tells you differently is lying to you. College coaches now want to see men that have the physical, but most importantly, and I just got done talking with a elite college coach who's been doing it for a long time. Well, I want you to tell parents mental strength matters. You need mental strength. Don't come in here weak-minded, me-minded, oh me-minded, po me-minded. If you don't have that mental strength, you will not make it in college, period. So, what I really want to get parents to understand when we're talking to Tamara, I'm not trying to reinforce my narrative. I'm trying to give out a dose of reality. So if we step back and we prepare our young children, and yes, a sophomore in high school, even though they are a teenager and they have a firm understanding of what's wrong and what's right, they don't have an understanding of what is reality awaiting them in college. Division I athletics now is big time athletics, big time responsibilities, time management skills, daily routines, time, really understanding. I'm not going to go to bed till 11 and I got to get 8 hours of sleep. So I got to try to get to bed at 10, get up earlier. My point is college recruiting doesn't begin until your rising senior summer. Period. End of story. Look around the landscape right now. 6,400 athletes in the portal, leaving LSU, leaving Tennessee, leaving Vanderbilt, they're leaving big boy schools. And if they don't go to another big boy school, they're attractive as heck to a Division II or Division III, or if they're freshmen, or maybe even have a sophomore year of eligibility, they're attractive to JUCO. So on that topic, how do you kind of allow your sophomore to understand, okay, let's focus on our skill, our strength, our size, our nutrition, our sleep, so that when the bell does ring at the end of my junior year in high school and college is on deck, I am ready to be seen, to be evaluated. How do you deal with that in the house, especially having a husband who is a Division I baseball player and a pitcher?
One day at a time.
Yeah.
I'm always honest with my kids. I don't have all the answers. They know that I'm hustling to understand in real time, just like everyone else, what's happening and what the right move is. So when I start to feel overwhelmed, the last thing I want to do is project that angst on them. So for me, that's, hey, let's take a time out, right? And so I'll go to someone like you, or I do my reading. And if the facts are that he doesn't need to worry about college camps right now, well, what I know he needs to worry about is his grades, and he needs to get as strong as he can, and he needs to continue to love the game. Like, I want him to be working on pitching, just got a hit pointer the other day. So he's like, great, I just threw like the best I've ever thrown. I just hurt myself. Okay, what can we do even though you can't move your lower body? How about we do some wrist rolls? Like, I'm trying to teach that resourcefulness and help him understand you can stay hungry. You can always be improving. And like, hey, bud, you've pitched really well and you're seeing a big ball right now. Why? So I think I got off tangent, but there's always an opportunity if you love this game to continue to improve. And the mental piece is the sixth tool. I mean, it supersedes probably the other five at times, right? Because talent alone doesn't get it done. So you should, if you love it, focus on what you can do right now, right? In increments of 30, 60, 90 days.
And I think, I had a great conversation, I think yesterday with Grambling head coach, Devin Pierre, and a good friend of mine that I played minor league with who attended Grambling. And one of the topics that came up is baseball became inaccessible for a lot of young athletes because of the cost, and the game was taken out of the cities and taken to other states, other parts of the country. And so it was unattainable. But now we are coming back to the athleticism and the development of the athlete physically. And so for instance, as a parent of a pitcher, and you and I have that in common. And, my son is now 32. And so when we're talking to a young pitcher, one of the first things my son will say to a young man is, you need to begin to prepare every single day on some aspect of the game, whether it's playing catch with dad and you're working on grips, whether you're waking up in the morning and you're getting speed work or sprint work in. In other words, the understanding of it's not just when the coaches tell me I have to practice or the lesson that my mother or father booked, the instructor. I need to say to myself, okay, I'm going to use this window of time to work on this and develop on my own. We used to do that as kids, on the playground or in the street or something like that. But one of the interesting things that Coach Pierre did mention was the game is now circling back into those cities, into those communities on where, and if we look in, different parts of the country, Dominican, warmer weather states, they're playing more games, not necessarily baseball, wiffle ball, stickball, things like they're playing catch, they're playing pickle. But the point I'm trying to make is youth sports had gotten away with 9, 10, 11 tournaments, and we needed to play on this team. And this is a great point. I'm going to give my son credit. The uniforms, the name on the front doesn't matter unless the guy in the uniform makes the name on the front something meaningful. In other words, it's the person in the uniform. So can you talk about that preparation that begins, with the grit? You always say the grit. You can't have success or skill without the grit. Can you talk about, and I want to reinforce for parents, right now, college athletes are training at Cressy, Fairchild, Tommy Moffett. They're all over the country. They're not playing summer league baseball. They're not chasing velocity or draft. They're chasing skill, strength, speed, and size. They're healthy. They're getting healthy. They're recovering. So if they're doing that during the summer, what should your athletes be doing after high school season and before the fall season, which I know a lot of people participate in? So do you ever encourage your daughter, who's a softball player, or your son to be self-driven with regard to, hey, go work on a skill, throw a ball against the wall and work your changeup grip, work your cutter grip, or self, encouragement to get better on their own time rather than waiting for a coach to say, let's go practice?
Yes. And we have to remind them of that more because we live in a world where we're so overscheduled. There's so much noise and attention and information. It's always like, and I feel this as a mom, it's like, oh, it's easier if I just remind him to do this. And then I'm like, but that's not my job. Like, does he love the game? Yes. Does he want what he say he wants? Well, then what I'll say to him is, your effort and your focus has to match your words. And if you really don't, that's okay. I love you the same, but you can't say I aspire to play D1 or whatever it is, but then not put in the work. So we have to have those tough conversations with them, but it does have to be kid led, because if your kid doesn't love it and you're pushing them, you're going to have a crappy relationship. It's going to quit, and like, it's not going to be good.
Well, I have a question from a parent, and I'm going to paraphrase, and I think this is a great question. At what age do you begin to have a dialogue with, whether it's athletes you work with or your own children, with regard to, don't worry about what other kids are doing or what successes the other kids are doing, chase or choose your own path, and, take a individual approach for your future success by, really focusing on your path or your journey. Can you talk a little bit how you interact with athletes that get consumed with, well, Johnny did this or Jimmy did that, or Susie always gets the limelight and bats third? Can you talk a little bit how you discuss this with your student athletes?
Yeah. And I would say that I have had those conversations with kids as young as 10. I think it's all relative, depending on how long they've been playing and then what mom and dad have been exposed to. And I'm not beating up mom and dad for this. It's this slippery slope of, if you've been playing travel ball since 6U, which is viable, by the time you get to be 10, you've been in it, and you've seen some people hit growth spurts and they're going to a bigger, better team with a greener field, so you think. So I don't think it's too early to ever have that conversation. Obviously, you adjust your words and your message accordingly, but it always comes back to, like, do you love this sport? You want to keep playing? Okay, we got to focus on your progress, Johnny, right? We can't worry about what such and such is doing. And just, we have to lead as parents too in that regard, which is hard sometimes. We're human. The comparison is tough.
And I always live by this adage. My dad used to say it when I was like 7, and he was not an athlete in any way, shape, or form. But he would always say to me, the thief of all joy is comparison. If you're going to compare yourself to Ricky the rest of your life, you're not going to really understand and enjoy your successes, because you're going to miss them. You're not paying attention to the things you do well. You're so focused on what Ricky does and the success that Ricky has, you're missing out on what Walter does. So just don't compare. Just enjoy who you are and work harder to be better today, than you were yesterday. So one of the things I really want parents to understand, and I want this to be a point of emphasis on almost every future episode when Tamara and those types of coaches join me, this is the type of content that matters more in my belief system. With, we've changed, we've gone into this fork in the road. We're never going back to the travel ball world of recruiting at the events of younger athletes and coaches going to tournaments at younger. Don't spend money chasing validation. Don't spend money chasing status. If you're going to be investing in your student athlete, in both time as well as money, you need to be educating yourself as a parent, and in turn educating your children that it is a growth learning experience that never stops. It continues. There's ups, there's downs, there's peaks, there's valleys. That's life. That's athletics. That's, academics. It's all aspects of life. The membership side of the YouTube channel, and I'm going to continue to say this because I had a parent ask me, geez, Walt, you keep pushing this. For me personally, I have a tough time when a parent says, I spend $3,000 to go to a tournament, 5 games in 2 days. And what did you get out of the tournament? The hotel, the food, all this stuff. We're going to have Tamara, and then you're going to have access to Tamara, and you're going to have access to Trent, access to Trey, all of these people, hitting coaches, pitching coaches, catching coaches, infield coaches, outfield coaches, the college coaches, all the resources that you as a parent can do from the comfort. You're listening at your leisure. You're watching at your leisure. There's small clips, they're long clips. But for me personally, with the Blue Book, the evaluation, and the $20 a month, I don't think it's a lot, and I'm going to overload you with information. And I want to stress one thing, because a lot of parents, and Tamara knows I send her people throughout the course of a month. I don't overload her, but there are people that will say, hey, Walt, and I'll always say, this is the person. And I want parents to know I've developed a rapport with all of these people, obviously with Tamara. I recommend these people because they're people that are living it like we have or are. So you're not trusting a 32-year-old that doesn't know what it's like to have a 15-year-older. And yeah, they might have been a star athlete, but I want parents to have perspective and I want parents to have access. And so one of the biggest questions, and I just saw it come in, and I'm going to ask, and kind of this will be the big boy question of the night for Tamara. How do you handle the disappointment at the table, or, when you're in the house and you get the mopes and your student athlete is so into instant, feedback, instant success, access, but they have to wait. They have to get bigger or stronger, or maybe they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed because mom and dad are always asking, how'd you do today? How was practice today? How do you deal with those student athletes that hit that age of 15 or 16, peer relationships, and then you have, obviously boy and girl issues, and then the sports start to weigh them down? At what point, or what are the signs, is the question from a mom in Wisconsin. What are the signs that, I might have to call Tamara, or I might have to reach out to her and kind of figure out what I need to do to bring my student athlete out of these doldrums?
So I think that we need to trust our gut first and foremost. We know our kids better than anyone. Certainly at the age of 14, 15, 16, the mopes happen, flying off the handle at what doesn't seem like a big deal. That becomes a little more normal. So I always try to just give a little space for him or her to just kind of work through it, let it diffuse. But if it's like a black cloud that's not going away, right? If we're on social media all the time and we're consistently depressed, it might be time to talk to somebody, right? It might be time to talk to a performance coach and just kind of talk through so that athlete can better understand, hey, this is a step in your journey, right? And, without divulging names, like I've talked to quite a few athletes in the last week or two who had heartbreaking failure just because the game didn't go the way they wanted, right? And they're at a point in their career where it feels very pivotal. And I have to remind them, just because you haven't been in this situation before, it doesn't make you more of a failure. Like, you've actually just grown. And I know that doesn't feel great because you're pissed. You just lost and nobody likes to lose. I get it. But in this game, you're going to see a gazillion different scenarios or ways that a game is lost or won. And guess what? You just experienced another one and you're getting ready to go play college. You're going to be better off for what you just experienced, right? So give your child a little bit of space. I also try, like, my son is getting into fishing, nothing to do with baseball. That makes me happy. So I will strike up a conversation about fishing or grilling steak because he's all about grilling his steaks. Like, I want to be where he is and help him get there. And sometimes we just have to divert their attention like we used to do when they were toddlers. It still works,
Well, one of the things I want to end on this, and I all week I get a blast of DMs or emails, and I'm really, really humbled, and I love all of the people that I interact with and I've gotten to know over the last few years. Will, who's on the feed tonight, Canes, Miami had a great season. I get to know these people on a peripheral basis, but one of the things I want parents to really understand: childhood, 8 to 18. You can tell me 18-year-olds are different, but I still tell you they're not different. The world is different. They're still 18. They're still kids. When they look back as a 40, 50, 60-year-old, being an 18-year-old, they'll say, man, when I was a kid. So what I want parents to understand is we don't think of time as money. and we give away. And I just had a parent break down when I did a stream with them. And I kept trying to say to them, this summer, your student athlete graduated middle school, 8th grade in middle May. From middle May, and we're almost to July, you've played baseball every weekend. You're packing your car, you're unpacking your car. And, all of a sudden you look up and it's almost August and it's time for school. And so you may think he wants or she wants to do this, but really they're at the mercy because you're the one driving the car. You're the one with the gas. You're the one paying for the hotels. And so I want you to understand, when you're 21, your athlete is 21. Some won't be playing college athletics. The ones that are playing college athletics are going to look back on mom and dad time. Like, I really got this set of parents to understand what's going to matter most is the time that you're spending with your children. So in the car, rather than talking about the tournament or swings, you can talk about, whatever it is, whether it's a hobby, whether it's a restaurant. But we're beginning to come back to those times where interaction is really imperative for growth and preparation for college. Because I've had athletes, 24 high school graduates, 25 high school graduates. They got bounced out, no room at the inn. Now they're trying to find themselves. And one of the things that one of the parents said to me that I think is really worth remembering is, if I could go back, I wouldn't have chased 8 weeks of baseball. And then just my summer is gone. My son's summer is gone. And then it's time to go back to school. We didn't hike. We didn't fish. We didn't camp. We didn't go to the beach. We didn't go to the lake. So parents, this whole process, why I strongly encourage you to utilize someone similar. I recommend Tamara. That's why I have her on repeatedly as a guest, is for you to take a decompression time as a parent and then understand how to interact with the athlete and get an understanding of, it is not their life. It is a part of their life. And when you look back, I just had this conversation. My son is still chasing his dream. He's 32 years old. He's playing independent baseball. He's got 2 children, a newborn daughter. And I said, what are you doing, Captain? You've done it to the level, you're 32. He's like, Dad, I still love it. I said, okay, that's all you have to say. And he said, I know I'm spending less time at home, but I love it. It's part of who I am, and I want to make sure I give it everything and squeeze every ounce of it out so I won't miss it when I don't have it anymore. And so, parents, it's a critical part now. Your performance coaches, your mindset as a parent, your mindset as an athlete, strongly encourage you. Tamara, why don't you tell everybody? I always put it in the description, but your X/Twitter handle, your email, your website, everything, so that parents will have access to it.
Sure. My website is elitemindsetdevelopment.com. My Twitter handle is my name. And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram as the name of my business, Elite Mindset Development. So reach out to me. I'm happy to help. It's just, we're having very important conversations right now.
And I want to say this, not to, blow smoke, but I have had parents come back to me. Now, this goes back to almost 2.5 years ago when Tamara and I started to interact via social media and talk, via YouTube. And I had a parent whose student athlete is about to become a senior in high school. And he said to me, I was doing it all wrong. He goes, and it really wasn't until Tamara started talking to my son that, he came to me and he was like a different person. And I recognized at that moment that all of those discussions with Tamara had built up his confidence for him to be able to come to me and say, hey, Mom, Dad, we got this. We're going to be okay. So I can't stress that enough. We focus on skill, strength, tournaments, showcases, all of these things, but the body and the mind of a young child. And what did you say? You were talking with 10-year-olds this week, or parents of 10-year-olds? So that boggles my mind, but I don't disbelieve that. So parents, utilize Tamara, utilize the resources that she provides, utilize her expertise. But again, think of this. When I talk to parents, I always say, I was an athlete, I was a coach, But most of all, I was a dad, and I lived it to the highest possible level. And I have relationships, and those relationships I share with you as parents and you as young athletes to help make your process better. Nobody has all the answers, but those of us that have lived it, Tamara and her husband, when you're talking about Division I athletics, you are a employee, especially in today's world where kids are worried about how much money they're making, So parents, as part of our channel, we make sure Tamara joins us twice a month. I always make sure if you call me, I connect you with her. I have people that ask for her contact information. I coordinate with her via the telephone or text message. So I'm already seeing people ask, how do you contact? Best way, find her on X, find her on her website, communicate via email. None of my gosh darn business. I don't get involved. I don't ask Tamara, check up on people. It's none of my business. And I respect her professional, communications with parents and student athletes. So Tamara, thank you so much. Again, we're going to do this every 2 weeks. We're even going to do it during the summer. And if anything I can ever do, with your son, I'm happy to help there. Softball as well. I'm getting a lot of softball players now. We're talking to, West Point, South Carolina. We talked to Bellhaven. So softball is an interesting. You think baseball is crazy. Softball, I am learning is wow. I mean, moms are coming at me like on full throttle. So I'm learning and getting an earful. So Tamara, thank you so much. And if I don't talk to you before July 4th, happy July 4th. Well, I can't believe we're going by that much. Parents, take the time right now while you're sitting there. Hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. Just hit subscribe. It's free. It helps create awareness and it pushes out content. Next, Blue Book. Just go to your phone, download the Blue Book app, create your profile, connect with me there, put your videos on there. I evaluate the videos. I help parents understand what you should be prioritizing, what you need to kind of address, and how to prepare for the high school experience. And then once we're in high school, how to get ready to be a potential college athlete. Tamara, thank you so much for taking the time, and best of luck, and have fun this summer. And tell your son, don't worry about anything. Size, nutrition, sleep, hydration, that matters more than velocity.
Chores at home, helping mom.
Well, okay, chores at home, that works.
We're signing up for Blue Book tonight. Shame on me for not doing it. So
everybody should do that. And I just want to make sure Will, thank you. Daniel, thank you. Leon, thank you. Mr. Miami Hurricane, thank you. Jim, thank you. Melinda, thank you. Belinda, thank you. Lorraine, thank you. I really enjoy these types of podcasts because I know so many people call me about Tamara, and I want you to understand it's not fake. It's not rehearsed. People actually do contact her from these types of shows. So go ahead and contact her. It's okay. Tamara, thank you so much.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, you got it.
Bye.